Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie, in case you didn't know that. Slightly different video this time. Very sporadic uploads on this channel. I'm more active over on Dear Hopeful's collab channel, which is down in the description. I'm talking books today. I know I've done a what's on my TBR pile and things like that before, but today I want to talk about books I've read this year so far. Back in January, I looked at how many books I'd read in 2023 and thought, I'm going to set myself the challenge of reading 24 books. Got 2 a month, that's doable. We're sitting here 1st of September currently. I've read 25. So I have upped my goal to 36. And I thought I'd just chat through a few of the books I've read. Though now looking at that, I'm thinking actually no, I've read more than 25 because one of them isn't on the app I use to record what I've read. So I thought I'd talk through a few of the books I've read this year, pick out some of my favourites, and yeah, so I'm going to go through the list because why not? So the app I use to track what I've read is called StoryGraph, and it's really cool. It gives you graphs and things of what you've read, so it breaks it down by like fiction, non-fiction, number of pages, the pace of the book, the mood of the book, genres, whether it's been print or digital. So this year I have actually 80% of what I've read has been digital format. You are getting a shiny screen there. Which authors you've read the most of. It even breaks it down by language. All the books I've read have been in English. In previous years I have read some French literature. It shows you how many pages per month so far and sort of breaks it down that way. And if you review the books, which I don't tend to do star ratings on the books I read. Yeah, here's my reading goal for 2024, 36 books. So I've read 25. I'm ahead by one book apparently from where it would be. Gives you a 2023 reading roundup. So last year I did actually read 21 books for just over 7,000 pages. And it sort of gives you like what genres you read and like the longest book I read and the shortest book and sort of the average length and all this. So the 25 books that StoryGraph says I have read this year are the theme of the books I've read this year has definitely been sort of romance. Got into romance fiction sort of in the last year or so. We can definitely blame Fourth Wing for that. So I read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame last year. This year I carried on reading, so at the end of last year I found the Curvy Girls Club series by Kelsie Stelting, and I read the first 5 last year, and this year I've read numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and also some bonus stories and also the sort of sequel that she wrote, which was All Grown Up. So Curvy Girls follows girls in high school, and then she sort of did one about the original sort of gang, girl gang, group of girls from the first few books a few years later, sort of post-college, and then a new book did get released, so I've read that. I read Check and Mate by Hazelwood, which was chess prodigies. I used to play chess. It wasn't very good, but I used to play. I thought, oh, that sounds cool. I haven't actually yet read The Love Hypothesis, which is in, I think it's in my TBR. I think I have a copy of it, or it might be on my Kindle, I can't remember. So majority of the books I've read have been on my Kindle, so all of the Kelsie Stelting books are on my Kindle. I then found out that Kelsie Stelting, under a different name, writes an adult romance series, which I read, which is called the Hello series. So I read all of those, and a book I haven't picked up off my bookshelf. Give me a sec, let me go and grab. I'm back. So a book that someone I follow on TikTok, she lived at the Tower of London, and she wrote a book called Falling Hard for the Royal Guard, which is Megan Clawson. Loved that. I have bought her second book as well, which I haven't read yet. It's at the Tower of London. It's funny, it's cutesy, it's romancy. I like it. And one of my friends actually lived at the Tower of London for a bit, so it was kind of cool sort of getting a bit more of an insight of what life was like for her. That was in March I read that. So everything I've talked about so far was up to the end of March. This I finished at the end of March. In April, apparently I only read 2 books, but I think there were more, but not on here. I read Nothing More to Tell by Karen McManus, and I think I have talked about Karen McManus before. She is the author of One of Us is Lying, now a Netflix series, and I love her books. These are always a good read. Following that was the 3rd and final book in the One of Us is Lying series, which is One of Us is Back. Again, another great read. Then I read More Than Clickbait, which is a sequel to More Than Shipmates by Philippa Young. It was a book I saw advertised on TikTok, thought it sounded good, read those. They're on my Kindle. Definitely been into the Kindle. Then there was the latest book by Kelsie Hoss for the Hello series. And then, guess what? Got sucked into another TikTok book talk recommendation, which is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Read that in like not very much time at all. Quickly followed by Wildfire, the 2nd book in that sort of trilogy. And the other day, Daydream, the final book. At least I think it's the final book, arrived. And I read that. And then I also read a book which was a ad on Facebook, I think. It was like books you might like. Dungeons and Drama by Christy Boyce, which was really, really good. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I did drama at university. And that kind of leads me nicely onto another book that I have read this year, which it's not on my Kindle and it's not a physical book either. It is actually on my iPad, so I will grab it up. So I saw on TikTok an author promoting her book, and she said, hey, if you want an ARC, Advanced Reader's Copy, drop me an email. I'll let you know if I've got any left. I was lucky enough to be one of the ARC readers, and the book is called Gameplay by Hannah Louise Smith, and I will link her TikTok and the book down below. So Gameplay, high fantasy, romance, based in a world of Dungeons and Dragons. Basically the main character gets transported to a fantasy world where through sort of meeting other characters and an adventuring party like in Dungeons and Dragons, she falls in love, she saves her brothers who had gone missing, and there's drama, there's dragons, there's dungeons, there's vampires, it was just brilliant. And like reading it, I could picture being in that. It was like playing a D&D campaign on paper. It was so well written. Really, really enjoyed it, and would really recommend if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, romance, fantasy. Even if you're not really into Dungeons and Dragons, the romance and fantasy is good enough to get you in there, and maybe it would get you into Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, you could, I don't know how to explain it to people that aren't Dungeons and Dragons players, but if you're a D&D player, you'll know sort of that as you're going through storyline of a campaign, and you can sort of, you know, the points where you roll a dice to make that decision, or that stealth check, or that ability check of any kind, or a saving throw. And Hannah very cleverly, I could tell when those rolls were being made, even without it saying, she rolls a stealth check, she rolls a strength check, she rolls charisma, she rolls persuasion. You could see that in the writing, and I think it was just brilliant. And yeah, I would really recommend to anyone that's into D&D or just fantasy in general. As I said, I'll link it down below. Currently I'm reading, it did have the cover on my home screen on my Kindle, The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. And then after that, I think I'm going to start Over Emotional by David Fenn. I've also got Powerless by Lauren Roberts on the go, and Daydream by Hannah Grace, and Hiding Him by Adam Hatton. I haven't actually started that one yet, but that's like on my pile. And over on the Dear Hopefuls channel in October, we are doing a book club. And the book we will be reading is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I think it's called. I don't actually know. I think that's what it's called. But I have a copy of it. So yeah, that is what I've been reading and what I am reading and what I will be reading. And yeah, I would like to try and do this kind of thing a bit more often. But yeah, definitely check out the books I have mentioned if you're into romance, fantasy, mystery, all that kind of thing. And yeah, I'll leave some links below, and I will see you back here when I next make a video. Bye.